Hey guys, back at it here in our Iron Maiden album review series. We got some exciting stuff going on, in the music world. I mean, in a couple days, Carcass's new record uh, will be coming out, so pretty hyped about that. Especially after just getting a new Maiden album that came out, and then we got a Jerry Cantrell album coming up next month, actually on my birthday, so that's pretty cool. We got some cool stuff, going on. I figured that would be going on in the music world after people were just kind of cooped up all 2020. These musicians were, and I'm surely they were writing stuff, and here we go, bam bam, albums keep coming out, which is awesome. Keep bringing it, whoever else out there. I mean, I know Mastodon's got one coming, Exodus has got one coming, and Halloween released one a little bit earlier this year, so there's all kinds of cool stuff going on. But anyways, we've been through the 80s, 90s, and now the 2000s of Iron Maiden. So now we're looking at the 2010s. Of course, that starts off with the 2010 album, The Final Frontier. One of my least favorite Iron Maiden album covers, probably, just because, I mean, I like the Eddie's and Alien, but that doesn't really look too much like Eddie to me. They just kind of diverted too far away from how Eddie looks to me. But, I mean, it's cool art, though. I mean, it doesn't look bad. I just wish it looked more like Eddie. Like some of the concept art in this thing. I got the little digipack version of this, which is pretty cool. But the booklet has some cool outtakes of the artwork, concept art, and some of them looked kind of cooler than this. And had Eddie looking more like himself. So would have been cool if we could have got those instead of this. But not a bad album cover. Just not my favorite. But anyways. We kicked this one off with, this is a 10-track one, so it's kind of, and this album, even though it is 10 tracks, I think the last couple have been, this one feels shorter as an album. Maybe it's because, I don't know, I don't think A Matter of Life and Death wasn't a double, but, I don't know, this one just feels shorter, and that's not a bad thing, and it's got some lengthy freaking songs on it. Maybe just the pacing went pretty well on it. In fact, looking at it, that's really what it is. The pacing was key. How they kind of deliver you a lot of the, shorter paced and more action-packed songs right off the front. Then let you burn into the more epic stuff near the end. But you do kick it off with a pretty big epic that comes in at 8 minutes 40 seconds. Of course, we're talking about Satellite 15, The Final Frontier. And the Satellite 15 is kind of, they're both listed as one track, but that's kind of like the intro thing, which is super cool. I've heard a lot of people hate it and wish they would just get to the Final Frontier song, or part of the song. But the Satellite 15 part's really cool. It's real spacey. There's a cool bass line that just, it just sounds like arcade game, like Space Invaders or something going on that Steve Harris does on the bass, and it really captures the whole space vibe going on. And then, of course, once the song kicks in, you got one of the hookiest choruses on the album. This is one of my favorite tracks right off the bat, the opener is. And, I mean, Bruce just goes at it again, showing, hey, 2010, another decade, I can still go. And that's definitely one of the best tracks on here. And I like the kind of, just the pacing of that song in general. Then we go to El Dorado, of course, about the old ancient city of gold. Which is, oh man, that is another really good song too. I mean, there's some really good, that's what this one did really good, to where it doesn't really take as long to grow on you. I would say, due to it, I mean, it's got those hooky ones right off the bat to kind of keep you locked in, So this one's a pretty easy album to get into. El Dorado being, again, one of my favorites off here as well. You got two greats right in a row. Then you've got Mother of Mercy. I've heard some people kind of dig on that song, saying they don't like how Bruce's voice is sounded during the chorus. Sounds like he's straining or whatever. I don't really see that. I think it's awesome. I think, again, a really nice melody they've got going on during that song. Then we've got track number 4, Coming Home. That's a pretty decent track. That would rank near the bottom of my favorites off this album, but it is a really cool kind of more ballady song on this album. So it has its place. It's solid. Definitely, it's memorable. So it It does what it needs to do. Then we've got track number 5. This one probably is my least favorite off here, The Alchemist. And I mean, I really like the lyrics on it and stuff, and like the alchemy thing they were talking about and all, but I don't know, the song, it's not as memorable to me as a lot of the other stuff on this album. So, and really, I've heard a lot of people say that about this album in general, that it's not as memorable. And I mean, I do see it, I agree with it kind of getting lost in the shuffle in their big freaking discography. I mean, it doesn't have a big standout moment like a lot of the others albums do. Or like even for like the bad ones that do get talked, or I mean not bad. I've liked all these so far, but the ones that are like, you know, aren't as well liked, at least they get talked about because people are hating on them. But this one just kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Kind of like the track The Alchemist on here. Kind of gets lost in the shuffle on it. Then we've got, man, I forgot all about this song. Turned out to be one of my favorites, The Isle of Avalon. Oh my god, that's an epic 9-minute something track. And where it really gets you, where it hooks me, is right in the breakdown. There's just, they come up, you know, the three-headed dragon guitar beasts right there. Yannick, Dave, and Adrian come up with just such a freaking riff. Oh man, I'm telling you, and it's got a galloping kind of vibe to it, and that riff just keeps going, and then the others are soloing over it. Once I got to that, I was like, man, how did I forget about this song? Like that is definitely one of the like top tier songs on this album, and that was one I completely forgot about. There were a couple of tracks on here that I had forgot about due to this album again kind of being lost in the shuffle. It kind of has been for me in the past too. I've listened to this one a lot less than I have a lot of the other albums over the years. But then we get Starblind, another pretty big song, really really solid track. I like the vocal work on here and the kind of passion you're hearing, and you know, it's really cool talking about the stars and all that stuff. Kind of cool, keeping with the kind of space theme that the title track kind of goes on, and kind of Coming Home as well. Then we go to, this one is a fan favorite among the tracks on this album here. We're talking about the Talisman. And man, I remember, I kind of forgot how the song went before doing this re-listen, but I always remember, I was like, I knew I really liked that song. Once I got to it, I was like, immediately, I was like, okay, I remember why I dug this one so much in the past. The Talisman is a freaking war epic that just tears the house down. Maiden's great at those war epics. It's almost like they can do no wrong when they're talking about a big war battle, you know, going on. I mean, hell, the whole A Matter of Life and Death album was about that, you know, and they knocked it out of the park there. So anytime they tackle a track like that, you know it's going to be freaking good. And the Talisman does not disappoint. Another incredible song off this album. Then we got another you end it with 3 big epics. Track number 9 here, The Man Who Would Be King. And that one, that's probably my least favorite of like the big epics on here, I would say. It kind of, I mean, it really goes well along with that ending kind of trio with the Talisman, that, and then the final track. It does flow really nicely, those 3 tracks in a row, despite being pretty lengthy, each of them. The flow goes on pretty nicely. But that one, I would just say, that one doesn't stick out as the track, the epic before it or the epic after. Speaking of that epic after, easily my favorite track on this album. Track number 10, When the Wild Wind Blows. Man, it gives me freaking goosebumps thinking about it. That opening, that little, you know, riff, that little lick they got going on, it sounds real folky. And I know it's talking about a story about a man and his wife thought the world was going to end, but it turned out to just be an earthquake, so they took a bottle of poison and, you know, killed themselves so they would die together or whatever. It's a pretty emotional ride all throughout, and it gives you a 10, damn near 11-minute ride. You know, it's just such an incredible, impactful song that, man, that is one of my favorite Iron Maiden epics, and one of the best songs of their modern era, if you ask me. I mean, man, I really like the kind of folky tone it goes with on this, which, you know, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, right when you start up the track. It's got kind of this whole thing. And Bruce's vocals on here, he kind of does the lows, and then it first stops, and then just kicks right into gear. Man, beautiful track. Tells the story perfect. That's what these guys are all about. And, but yeah, this is really an underlooked album, and has been for me in the past too. But, you know, upon this re-listen of it, and I listened to it a couple times, you know, and I was like, man, I dig this album. I didn't really give it a lot of credit. And again, it still has been, you know, it's one of the albums I've least listened to out of their entire discography over the years, just because you know, they have a big discography, so you kind of pick and choose out of them a lot of times. And this one just often gets passed over by a lot of other people as well as me. But great album nonetheless. Hell of a way to start off their 2010s era, which was only 2 albums, which is what we'll be reviewing next time. The double album epic, The Book of Souls, that dropped in 2015. So we'll be knocking that out. That's our second last Maiden review. We're getting close to the end before we rank them all. But I'm also going to go ahead, you know, like I've been doing, talk about that Facebook page. We had another today's not Saturday. That was last video. We got 2 for Tuesday today, so we post like double 2 songs by an artist. So it not a super big, you know, theme, but it's cool to just, you know, to get some artists who maybe wouldn't be featured on like the heavy metal show, heavy metal hump day or other stuff like that. So cool theme day there. But also appreciate, I know we've been getting a lot of comments down there and a lot of, you know, thought-provoking conversations about really cool albums. That's been just kind of happening over the past couple of days, which I love, and you know, let's keep that up. I love talking about this stuff. I know somebody was commenting about how they freaking hated the X Factor, or was it Virtual 11 one of them? And I was like, hey man, I know where you're coming from. And he said he hated the new album too, but he may give it another listen. So like, it was cool stuff like that. You know, you agree, you disagree, you talk about what you liked and didn't like, and I was like, I know where you're coming from, man. I was there too. So I love hearing stuff like that, and I really am curious. As this not being one of the, you know, albums very much talked about, I'd love to hear people's thoughts on this. Maybe us have a little chat about it in the comments below. So, anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Check out next time The Book of Freaking Souls. It's coming up. Like, subscribe, comment. Thanks.